Happy Halloween, everybody. I hope my disguise wasn't too scary. It is still me, the Darwinist. I want to talk to you today about rational fear, real things that are not phobias, that are not irrational, illogical, things that are real threats to you and to us and to everything that we hold dear. There is one of my favorite scary movies, A Nightmare on Elm Street. You're probably familiar with it. I thought the scariest thing in that movie wasn't Freddy Krueger. And he is pretty scary, this demonic ghost that kills you in your dreams. It's terrifying because you can't fight against something like that. He's not tangible. He's just this specter, this thing that has total control in a realm that you're forced to go into by your biology. And he haunts these teenagers in a certain community. And when these teenagers start dying off and they're telling their parents about what's going on, they're saying, "Mom, Dad, every night I go to sleep, there's this guy with burns all over his body, wearing a Christmas sweater and a fedora hat, and he's got this glove with knives on it." And these parents, knowing damn well that just a few years back, they saw a guy with a fedora and a Christmas sweater and a knife-fingered glove, and they burned him, knowing damn well that guy is real and his name is Freddy Krueger. They're telling their kids, "Oh, it's nothing. Don't worry about it. Just go to sleep. Just go to sleep." They're basically being gaslit into their own death. Now, in politics right now, and I hate even saying in politics, because people like to think politics and religion, especially because of boomers. They think these topics are something you can just avoid. You don't have to think about it. You can just not worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't talk about it. It's not polite to talk about. They think politics is something you can just avoid, as if it hasn't been the case in history on multiple occasions that people were dragged out of their homes and killed because of politics. Same with religion. People think that, religion is just your own opinion, and everyone has a right to a religion. And religious freedom, you can't talk about religion, you can't criticize it. These are absolutely suicidal beliefs to think that politics and religion are taboo, or that certain ones are off the table of being criticized. And just as the kids in Nightmare on Elm Street were told, there's nothing to worry about. There's no Freddy Krueger. You're imagining it. Well, when you criticize Islam, you are called Islamophobic. They act like it's not a rational fear. They say that, if you criticize communism, that's just Red Scare propaganda. When you talk about what the communists did, you're just a victim of McCarthyism. You've been misled. Then they use some sort of semantics. When you say, the communists killed 260 million people in a century. They say, that wasn't real communism because technically blah, blah, blah. This is technically real communism. Well, but those guys did this, which is not specifically my form of communism. And so it's not a threat. It's not a real problem. They say that Islam is just another religion. And you're mistaken. You're misunderstood. I'm going to tell you quickly the truth about both of these ideologies. You see, human beings are naturally, by birth, rational. To an extent. We're mostly rational. You see, because like rationality is an evolved trait. It's something that, like intelligence, has benefits. So us being a species that relies on its intellect, its ability to reason and make good decisions, we evolved the ability to be rational. And as babies, we are naturally scientists. We explore the world, we experiment, we try things, we fail at things, and we learn from that. But there are certain belief systems in this world that are forced onto children where that scientific curiosity is shut down. They are no longer allowed to question things. They are no longer allowed to criticize certain ideas. Whether this is something that's instilled upon them as children when they're too young and immature to fight back, or to understand that they're being manipulated. Because yes, we are reasonable, rational creatures, but we're also social creatures. And as social creatures, the instinct to put social values ahead of personal values is very powerful. So what that might look like, and they've done experiments on this, where you take a group of actors and your test subject, and you ask them questions. Which of these, like you show them different bars on a graph, and you ask them which bar matches the length of this bar over here. And the test subject knows the answer, but all the actors give the wrong answer on purpose. And so the test subject changes his answer to match the wrong answer of the actors, because he is doing a thing called socially adapting for survival. Because what's more important in most human history, being right or being accepted by the tribe? Being accepted by the tribe is more important than being right, because thousands of people, if millions, if not millions, have been killed for being right, simply because they did not fit the social standard. They didn't have the social acceptance of the group, which is very dangerous. And a cult is not what people might think. Cults are not using advanced, like, hypnotism or anything like that. I mean, they might. I don't know enough about cults, but from what I've gathered, and these two most dangerous cults in our world, they prey upon people's need to belong, their need to be right, because these groups are so confident about what they believe. You ask a Muslim if he ever questions or doubts Allah or Islam or whatever, he will never say no. Or he will never say he doubts him at all. He will only ever say, I have zero doubt. I mean, why would they blow themselves up if they had doubts? Why would a skeptic go all in on something he might be wrong on? Look at communists. They are willing to go all the way for their belief system. And that level of confidence, I mean, if you're smart and you have a bit of experience dealing with stubborn people, you know that overconfidence is a sign of being wrong. That's one way I can tell someone's wrong about something, is if they are super confident in it, they're probably wrong. At least I'm more skeptical of an opinion if more people are super confident that it's true, because they might be confident that it's true because other people are confident that it's true. And subconsciously, it's safer to go along with the group than to be right. Islam is a 1400-year-old religion, but it's not a religion like Christianity. You see, a lot of Christians think that Islam is just like another version of Christianity. It's like, oh, they have a Bible. Like we have a Bible, they have the Quran, which is just like an Arabic kind of Bible. And that's not what it is, okay? Every religion is different in some pretty significant ways, but let's compare them. Okay, there was a video that's been taken down on YouTube that really opened my eyes to Islam. It was called 3 Things About Islam. And it was beautifully put together by a former Muslim. And I mean, you will not find a stronger Islamophobe than an ex-Muslim. So, you know, one reason that they're so confident in Islam is because the price of leaving Islam is death. If you were a Muslim and you decide not to be a Muslim anymore, they kill you. That is the consequence within their religion. And any culture that has power, that has an Islamic sort of power system, let's say there's, you know, Sharia law. And within Sharia law, which Sharia just means law in Arabic, so it's just Sharia. I call it Sharia law because that's what, you know, we all know it as. So, let me back up real quick. So, you got the Christian Bible, which is a book of inspired messages, most of which we don't know who wrote them, but we believe it is the Word of God. Some people think it's the literal Word of God. Some people think some of it's a metaphor, some of it's an analogy, some of it's, you know, true, exact, specific. Some of it's just like parables. You know, and Jesus taught in parables because parables are a good way to kind of learn lessons. And it was written by a lot of different people. There's a lot of different interpretations of things that happen in the Bible. And based on the kind of person you are, you might be drawn more or less to different aspects of the Bible. But that is not true about Islam. The Quran was written by one guy, Muhammad. Muhammad was a warlord. Muhammad grew up in Medina, Mecca. I'm not sure. I don't have all the history on the top of my head. But Muhammad was a conqueror. He basically came up with this ideology that's not just a religion. It's more so a political ideology than a religion. Basically, what I gathered from this video that was put together by an ex-Muslim was that there are 3 important things to know. The first one is, like I said, the Quran was not written by multiple people. It was written by one guy. And it was, yes, there are peaceful verses in the Quran. In fact, if you read the early parts of the Quran, a lot of it is peace and acceptance and politeness. But if you read further along, it's war, conquest, domination, beheadings, kill those who insult Islam. You know, if the Jew hides behind the rock, you must kill him. I mean, if we want to say that the Nazis were bad because they're anti-Semitic, but you're not saying anything about Muslims, maybe you gotta, question yourself a little bit. So, in the Quran, you might say, well, the good Muslims follow the early stuff and the bad ones follow the later stuff. Within the Quran itself, there is a rule that says if there is any contradiction, you must obey the latter command. So if Muhammad says in the early parts of the Quran, accept your enemies, be nice to your enemies, show forgiveness to your enemies. But in the later part, he says, show no mercy to your enemies, behead your enemies. then you must follow the later commandment. And that means that Islam is not this like mishmash of good and bad ideas. It's really one very specific message. And it is not up to interpretation nearly as much as the Bible. I mean, why do you think there are hundreds of denominations within Christianity? I mean, first off, you got the split between the Catholics and the Protestants. You got the Orthodox, which are kind of more on the Catholic side, but not really. You got within the Protestants, you got non-denominational, you got Baptist, you got Lutheran, you got, Presbyterian. I mean, Mormons, I don't know all the different denominations, but there's a lot of them. In Islam, you got two. You got the Sunnis and the Shia. And, I don't know exactly how much they differ, but they still agree on the Quran. They still follow the Quran. And this concept that the early things are ignored if they contradict with the latter things, and the latter things are to be followed, this is so important to understand, because when people get up and they're defending Islam and they're using Quranic verses, if you don't know this rule exists, then you might say, oh, well, that sounds peaceful. If that's what they believe, then we got to be on their side. But they're lying to you. And that brings me to the second most important message from this video, which is taqiyya, the concept of taqiyya. So, Muhammad was smart. He knew that sometimes Muslims are going to be outnumbered. And I'll get to the why this is so dangerous in a second. But the second rule is taqiyya. Okay, taqiyya means lying in the face of the enemy. So if the Muslims are outnumbered, if, let's say, they're a minority within a group, within a city or a nation, they have to act like they're friendly and they're nice and polite and they're good neighbors. That way, you're cool with letting more Muslims in, because, my neighbor down the street is a Muslim and he has this nice little cookout every Saturday or whatever, and he makes a shish kebab or whatever it is. What's everyone always talking about? Kebab in Europe. I mean, they're letting London just not be London anymore because kebab. Are you serious? I mean, I've never had kebab, but I can't imagine a food that I would like more than pizza. And I wouldn't give up, my country for pizza. If I had to come down between America and the perfect values that America could have, or pizza, I would give up pizza. I mean, I love pizza, but I mean, if the sacrifice I had to make for my civilization, for my people, was I eat canned beans for the rest of my life and potatoes, I'd do it. I mean, I already eat that way a lot of the time. So anyways, taqiyya means when you're in the enemy's territory, you're not, telling them what your intentions are, because that's stupid, that's suicidal. And keep in mind, this ideology comes from, before medieval times. There was constant war, and they're from the desert, so there was a lot more war than we might be familiar with even in Europe. They had a lot of war, and they were always trying to conquer each other. So if you want to invade a city, you might send in some of your people as merchants or travelers or whatever to kind of get a layout of the city to report back. Maybe they're the ones that open the gate in the middle of the night for you and let you in. And if you just come in and say, hey, yeah, we're here to take you over, we're here to conquer, and it's just one of you, that city's going to just kill you. They're not going to tolerate it. But if you come in saying, oh, we're peaceful, we're nice, we're decent, those dangerous ones you hear about, they're mistaken, they're wrong, that's not real. You are being gaslit, my friend. You are being lied to by taqiyya. And Muslims will lie about taqiyya because they know we know. And they'll say, oh, that's not what taqiyya means. Taqiyya means blah, blah, blah. They are practicing taqiyya on you. They are lying to you. Now, the third most important message from that video is that, and look, the video's been taken down because it's Islamophobic. Just like in Europe these days, at least not all of Europe, some of these countries are waking up. And I mean, look, whose opinion are you going to side with? The Italian government, the Polish, the Japanese? I mean, these are high IQ, very successful societies of law-abiding, strong people. I respect all of these societies way more than I respect London and England, at least the modern versions of it. So, like, if you don't believe me, go read the Quran. Go listen to ex-Muslims. Look it up for yourself. The third thing from this video that I remember was that Islam is a political ideology where they want Islam to spread worldwide. The goal of Christianity is for each individual person to accept Jesus, to follow, the guidelines from Jesus and from the Bible, to get into heaven, and then eventually Jesus will return and, rapture people up to heaven. In Islam, that can only happen when the entire world is Muslim. So in the Quran, Muhammad commands the creation of a caliphate. A caliphate is a Muslim government that is basically an empire, an Islamic empire. And within the Quran, if it follows the guidelines from the Quran, it has to spread. It's commanded to spread. And it has to spread by 2 countries a year. So they have to make an attack on 2 separate nations every year. They have specific guidelines for this. So if you're ever wondering, why did, this Islamic, or ISIS was the modern caliphate, why did they attack these people? Why did they attack this place over here? That's why. Why is there never peace in the Middle East? Because Islam is an extremely violent religion / political ideology that commands its followers to attack and invade. So, if you understand these 3 things, it explains modern Islam completely. They lie to you about how peaceful they are until they've got more people. When they're the minority, everything's all peace, 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 you guys. Acceptance, peace and acceptance. When they're about half and half, it's like, okay, look, we need to have, all these different Muslim rules enacted. We need all these Sharia-based rules enacted. We can't have drinking. You can't be selling alcohol. There's videos of Muslims in fucking Dallas walking into liquor stores saying, you can't be selling liquor here. There's videos of Muslim police, a little like just a bunch of Muslims got together in New York City and in other European cities walking around policing people for their public behavior. You can't walk dogs down certain areas in London. There are no-go zones where Muslims have taken over and the laws of the country don't exist there. Sharia law exists there. That's all following the Quran. Islam takes advantage of our freedom of religion and our freedom of speech. And they do this in order to destroy us. Now, if you're not scared of an ideology that commands us to be beheaded or to submit, and that's an important point. What does Islam even mean? I mean, we don't speak Arabic, so what does this Arabic word mean? It means submission. Islam means to submit. So what that means is that, look, if you live in a Muslim country, you don't have to be a Muslim, but you have to submit to the Islamic rules. You're not allowed to do things that they don't want you to do. And if you want to practice your religion, do it in silence and in secrecy. They don't want to see it. They don't want to hear it. Now, this is a very terrifying ideology, because without going into detail about the horrific things that they believe, the fact that they are planning on conquering us, and the fact that they are coming in pretending to be peaceful, and then just start paying attention, start watching videos about Dearborn, Michigan, and Islamic, you can follow the podcast of the Lotus Eaters. They talk about what's going on in London right now. In the UK, you're not even allowed to criticize it because they don't have free speech. And they don't have free speech because they don't have a Second Amendment. So never give up your guns or your 3D printers. And it is terrifying. Being afraid of a violent, dangerous enemy is completely rational and justified. What do we do about this? Well, I might get to that more in depth in another video. But the first thing, the most important thing, speak out. Don't be silent. Educate yourself. Don't fall into this feminine trap of, oh, everyone is just nice in their own way. We can all get along if we just accept each other and love each other. That is bullshit. The Christian notion of turning the other cheek only applies to your friends, your family, people that generally have your back, that might slip up and be a dickhead sometimes. You turn the other cheek for them. You do not turn the other cheek to someone who is trying to kill your family and rape your children. That is not what you're called to do. If you look up some of the crimes committed by Muhammad, the man that Muslims believe was the perfect human being. When I say warlord, I want you to understand one of the things that he used to do. He would invade cities. He would drag men and women and children out. And he would cut the heads off of the men in front of their wives. He would rape their wives and command his men to rape their wives in the blood of their decapitated husbands. They would enslave their children and they would rape their children. Pedophilia is a huge problem within Islam. It's why there's all these grooming gangs. And a grooming gang, if we're not using cutesy little euphemistic words like grooming gang, because a grooming gang, what is that like? I take my dog to the groomer tomorrow. Are there a bunch of, Petco, PetSmart employees in their cute little dog grooming outfits with their scissors walking around, throwing up gang signs? No. It's Muslims who are ganging up on children. They are manipulating them, lying to them, kidnapping them, dragging them off into houses where groups of men will rape them for days and days and days. And the police, because they don't want to appear Islamophobic, do nothing about it. And because they don't have free speech, you're not allowed to talk about it. You can't complain about it. If you fight it, if you try to if you try to save your daughter from them, you will be arrested. If you're a 12-year-old girl in Scotland and a Muslim is following you, trying to rape you and rape your little sister, and you pull a knife on him to protect yourself and your little sister, you will go to jail. In Germany, if you're being raped, if you get raped by a Muslim in Germany and you complain about it, they're going to say, you know what, he didn't rape you long enough, so we're going to let him go. These are real stories, by the way. I'm not making this up. These are real things that happened. Now, I've talked enough about Islam. You should be scared shitless of Islam, and you should stand up against it. Be brave. Bravery is action while you're scared. If you're not scared, you can't be brave. You should be legitimately scared of a legit threat. And Islam has been a threat against Christians and non-Muslims alike. As long as you're not a Muslim, Islam is a threat to you. They want to conquer you. They want to conquer your country. They want to take over your lands. They want to rape your children. They want to rape your wives. And this is, people in America like to think, oh, the Middle Ages was a long time ago. We've evolved since then. Not everybody. Some people have stayed the same for thousands of years. And if you let them into your country, they're not going to just magically change. They're going to bring their shit over here. And that's what we see. Now, communism. The threat of communism, and I don't even like saying communism that much anymore. I'm trying to get into the habit of just calling it socialism. Okay, because socialism is the umbrella, and communism is an ideology within that umbrella. And communism is, of course, the most dangerous form of socialism. It has an impressive body count. Islam, over 1,400 years, has murdered around 260 million people, estimated. It might be 270 million. Communism, within 100 years, has racked up about the same amount. And we'll never know exactly how many, because a lot of these people lie about the numbers. And then, some journalists, some digging around, finds out more people were killed than we thought. Now, why does communism require death? Why is communism so dangerous? I mean, it sounds nice. Communism sounds like sunshine and rainbows. It sounds like we're all holding hands, working together, and there's no greedy people. There's no class. Everyone's the same. No one's better than anyone else. There's no hierarchy. Well, look, I'm not here to argue that it's utopian. I'm here to argue that any ideology that is utopian, that requires such a drastic change, will require drastic measures to bring about said change. And that's exactly how communism works. So, the first thing you got to understand is communists gaslight the fuck out of people. And they do not care how many people die in the process. Because communists, you have to understand, they don't see society as a group of individuals. We as capitalists, as Americans, as Europeans, whatever your ideology is, you see society as a collection of individuals which each have value. Every life has value. Communists are collectivists through and through. They do not see society as individuals. They don't see individual rights as a real thing. They see everything in the term of, or through the lens of, groups. So if you're white, then you're an oppressor class. Even more so if you're straight and you're a male, you're an oppressor class. And any violence brought about towards you is justified. Because in their mind, because they are utopian, anything that can bring about that utopia is justified. Because they believe that all the problems in the world are simplified into one thing, which is class struggle, class oppression. You ask a communist how to cure cancer, they'll say, kill the capitalists. Ask a communist, how do we solve for X? Kill the capitalists. How do we solve poverty? Kill the capitalists. How do we make space travel work? Kill the capitalists. Every solution to them is the same. Every problem has the same solution. They bring everything into, and this is how dangerous Marxism is, communism is, because it's so manipulative. It spreads into every little aspect of life. You think atheism, you might be mistaken to believe that atheism leads to communism, but that's not true. Communists infiltrated the atheist movement. Communists infiltrate every ideology that is possibly susceptible to them, that they can take over. They're like a mold, that just grows on anything that is a liable surface for it. You have to have strong values in order to inoculate yourself from communism and Islam, because these are cults that take over your subconscious mind by giving you a sense of community, of belonging, of confidence, of, destiny, of purpose. It gives you a common enemy and an easy solution to problems. I mean, I'm sure in your life of people that are so dead set on believing something because it's simple. Not because it's true or because that's where all the evidence points, but because it gives them an easy little sense of purpose and a fight to fight. A war to fight in. Everyone wants some kind of war to fight in, to feel like they're a hero. So that's the problem with communism, is that they sell themselves as this, we're trying to, fight against oppression. We're trying to free the poor from whatever enslavement or what do they call it? It's like a kind of a subjectivist word that means like not extortion, expropriated. What is it they always say? Taken advantage of, exploiting. It's such a weird term, exploiting. Like it makes sense in like a legal definition, but the way communists say it, you could say that about any kind of relationship. You could say that I exploit my girlfriend. You could say that my girlfriend exploits me. You could say that children exploit their parents or parents exploit their children. Like, you could say that anyone exploits anybody if you are dishonest and don't look at relationships as what they are. And communists, they rile each other up. They rile people up by getting you to feel bad for somebody who is in a rough situation. Look at these people over here are poor. Well, that's because, simple solution, it's the rich people that are holding them down. They're holding all the means of production. They're holding all the cards, all the power. It's seductive language. It's seductive in an ideology because it you've kind of been told all your life since you were a little kid that you need to share, that you shouldn't be greedy, that you should all love one another. This is a big problem in Christianity, is that Christianity gives you that underlying morality that makes you very susceptible to communism if you give up Christianity. And there's actually some Christian communists. Some of the earliest communists were Christians. Strangely enough, they were also Jewish, which also has that altruism as a built-in mechanism. And the problem with it, though, is that you find out that they're not really even altruistic. Communists, socialists, are some of the most selfish people you'll ever meet. They don't want themselves to give up anything, you see. What they want is for the rich people to give up things. They want to have an excuse to break into the rich man's house and loot everything because, I'm giving some of it away. It's justified. It's okay, but in their mind, it's fun. It's like they're in a zombie movie, and haven't you ever wanted to be in a zombie movie where you can just go wherever you want, take whatever you want? That's kind of what communism would look like. And I think a lot of communists kind of just want to see the world burn. They want to play in the destruction, but they'll lie to you and say, it's just to, help the poor. That's it. We just want to help the poor. We just want equal rights for whatever group is susceptible to communism. That's why they pretend to care about women's rights. Not because women are oppressed. They're not. Women have it better than men in almost every situation. But they support women's rights because women are very susceptible to communism, because women are collectivists by nature. Women are biologically designed to protect and take care of kids. And a lot of that means give me free stuff. A lot of that means share and be nice and don't be greedy. And all these, kind of core belief systems are very natural for women to just jump into. Communists will also, just like Muslims, they will take advantage of our niceness. They will take advantage of the free speech that we give them, their freedom of assembly, and our kindness to support individual rights. Because if we see Antifa, we see a black bloc somewhere, we say, well, you know what? One of them threw a brick through the window, but that wasn't all of them. We should only arrest the one that threw the brick through the window. But how can you identify them? The way that you defeat Antifa and black bloc is you arrest all of them, but you charge each and every one of them for every single crime that was committed by any of them. If black bloc is formed up in a gang and they're throwing Molotov cocktails, if you arrest anyone from that group, every single person that gets arrested should be charged with arson, attempted murder, breaking and entering, you name it. Whatever that group did, each member that gets arrested should be charged with it. Because otherwise you're granting immunity to people. You need to throw out innocent until proven guilty when dealing with a group that intentionally disguises themselves in order to commit crimes in groups. Because you don't know if they're guilty or not. And the reason you need to assume they're guilty is so you can prevent this from happening in the future. The whole point of a government, the whole point of a government should be a 6-hour-long video. But the government should at the very least protect businesses, protect private property, protect people's lives, protect their livelihood. And if they're not doing that because they care more about some freedom of assembly bullshit, well then, I say it's time to call out the rooftop Koreans. Dig into your Viking roots. Go berserker mode against these anti-faggots. And, let's talk a little bit about communism itself as an ideology. Why is it so dangerous? So I said livelihoods, right? I said you've got, what is communism really fighting against? So communists will always say, they'll always try and get you on their side by getting you riled up against Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk and these evil billionaires. They have too much money. They need to share it with us. The reason we're poor is because they're rich. And so they rile up resentment and envy. And then once they get a big crowd, they don't go to Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos' house. No, they go downtown and they take over businesses. They destroy businesses. Why do they destroy businesses? Because communists want to get rid of any business, which they call private property, means of production. That means if you own a restaurant, they will destroy your restaurant and kill you because you're a capitalist. A capitalist is someone who owns a business. And I'm not speculating. I'm not extrapolating from whatever. Every single time communism is taken over, this is how it's happened. When Stalin took over Russia, he sent his army in to take over farms and kill the farmers or enslave the farmers up in Siberia for free labor so the Russians could sell timber to England. When Mao took over, he took over by riling up resentment in the Chinese youth against the elders in their villages that had more money because they had a lifetime of investment and work. So he said, you need to kill them because they are, taking away your livelihood. They are keeping you down. So they did. They took over the farms. They melted down all the farm equipment and killed all the birds so they could farm. And millions starved to death because... So how do communists kill all these people? They kill the business owners first. They kill whatever class they say is exploiting the workers or oppressive. And if you think that American communists don't want to kill white men, don't want to kill Christians, as they already have with Charlie Kirk, and the churches that they've been killing people in, you're just stupid. You're stupid. If you don't understand this, you're stupid. There's no other way to say it. The communists create this boogeyman of this class that's oppressing us. Then they justify murdering them. They kill them, and then after that class is dead, the rest of the people starve because they don't know how to do anything. It happened in Rwanda. It happened in China, in Vietnam, in Russia. Everywhere that communism takes root, they build resentment and envy. They take people that don't know how to farm, that don't know how to feed themselves. They get them all pissed. They murder millions of innocent people simply for owning land, simply for owning a store, owning a restaurant. If you own something that makes money, you're a capitalist, and they kill you. And then, because of economics, because of the laws of economics, things don't get produced. And then millions of people starve. If that's not terrifying to you, that there are people out there that laugh about violence towards you because it could lead to their utopia, so everything is justified. This is a violent death cult that wants you dead. Now, how do you defeat them? Just like I said about Antifa, arrest each and every one of them. Fight them. If the state that you live in, if the cops aren't doing anything, if Trump is out of office and he's not sending the National Guard, get your friends together and go kick their asses. That's a violent mob, okay? If the cops aren't going to arrest them, then they're not going to arrest you for fighting them. If the cops aren't going to do their job, then you have to step up and do it for them, okay? And if the cops try to arrest you, fight the cops. Seriously, if the cops are going to let Antifa burn your city down, then the cops they've already failed. And as an American, you have the right to resist tyranny. And tyranny comes in many forms. It comes in the form of, yes, a government that is restricting your rights, but it also comes in the form of a government which permits violent mobs to restrict your rights. You have to stand up for America. You have to stand up for freedom and for your families, your communities, and the values that we hold dear that made this country great. Communism starts at home. Islam acceptance starts at home. All of this does. If we are taught that values don't really exist, that everything's a matter of opinion, some wishy-washy bullshit like you're supposed to just accept other people without criteria, that you should love unconditionally, you're everybody, that's bullshit. You need a firm foundation of morality to teach your kids and to believe yourself. You should not tolerate ideologies that want to kill you, okay? The two most important ideologies to fight against from now probably until they're done completely, until I don't know how we could completely get rid of them, because they are like a mold. They're like a relentless fungi that just keeps coming back, like Jason, like a monster that rises from the dead no matter how many times you defeat it. How do you really get rid of it? Well, in the movies, you shoot something and it keeps coming back. You shoot Jason, Jason's got more bullet holes in him than a house in Chicago. And he still keeps coming back. How do you actually defeat Jason? I don't know. I mean, I think they did it pretty well in Never Hike Alone. And in that, you figure out what drives him and you destroy that. So if you defeat envy and resentment and can create a better mentality around work and prosperity, and instead of resenting the rich, maybe look up to them for inspiration. Of course, you should fight for equal rights and your right to make money, your right to own a business and to prosper. But you should not fight to steal from other people. You need good moral values as your foundation if you want to inoculate yourself and your family and your friends from evil. Evil takes root in a willing or otherwise some sort of vulnerable vessel, just as an infection enters an open wound. If you are not vulnerable, you cannot be possessed. If you are just shooting at the problem, you might stop it a little bit. You might hold it back. And I'm not arguing for or against, wink, wink, YouTube, in Minecraft, violence against communists or Muslims. Certainly defensive violence, of course. I am 100% in support of defending yourself from any violent group. And be aware that these are violent groups that will come for you. And one of the best things you can do to defend yourself against this is, go to church. Arm yourself and guard your church. Create a voluntary or a volunteer security force within your church. Deacons, members of your churches, just be armed, be well trained, because these communists have been targeting churches. So you need to have armed men inside churches protecting the flock of sheep. Why would you want to be a sheep? That's just a weird term. I've never quite really got. Anyways, figure out the root cause, which is open-mindedness to stupidity. And if you can defeat that, then you can defeat these undead monsters that keep coming for you. They keep coming for us. Figure out the root cause, strike the root, and protect your society. Don't be vulnerable, and they can't come in. Don't let them in. A lot of these things, one thing I like about vampires, at least from their lore, is this notion of having to be invited to come in. And when you create a welfare system that welcomes in Muslims, that invites them, if you create a free speech thing that allows socialists to speak, if you create this notion that socialists can have valid opinions that we need to hear out, and if you accept their beliefs that, it's okay to punch a Nazi, even though if you accept if you accept the numbers, Nazis killed 6 to 10 million people. How many did communists kill again? 260 something people. 260 million something people. How many did Islam kill again? 260 million something people. So which ideology is really more dangerous? If it's acceptable to commit violence against an ideology, or it's acceptable to understand the concept that some ideologies are just dangerous, like Nazism, whatever that is, then we should accept that, Islam and communism are violent ideologies. They are here to kill us, to take over our ways of life. If you own land that can be productive, they will drag you out of your house, put a bullet in your head, and take your land and run it into the ground because they don't know how to farm. They will burn your businesses down and they will never rebuild anything because they're just waiting for the collective to rebuild things and no one will actually do it. And then everyone's going to starve. which, I mean, I don't feel bad for starving communists. So like, I got mixed feelings about the death tolls of communism, because like every communist that starves to death, they deserved it, man. They got exactly what they fought for. If you literally kill all the farmers in your area, man, you deserve every second of an empty stomach that you feel. I don't feel any pity for you. Like the Rwandans, I think it was, the Haitians, they got exactly what they deserved. If you let this ideology in, it will take over. Just like vampirism, just like a zombie virus. Don't let it in. Figure out where it gets its power from, which is your irrationality, which is your vulnerability, because you need to blend into society. You need to be socially accepted. You have to be strong enough to say, fuck all of you, you're all wrong. I'm not going to go along with this. You know that video or that picture of the Chinese man holding his groceries standing in front of the tank in Tiananmen Square? Be that guy. Even that dude that's, all the Nazis are saluting, and he's standing there with his arms crossed like, how about that? You should stand out. If everyone around you is wrong, then you need to just leave that group, man. Don't go along with the bad ideology. Get away from them and go to where it's safe. Okay, I'm kind of starting to rant and ramble. So I hope you have a great rest of your Halloween. Be safe, be afraid, and be brave. Thanks, bye.